Hey guys, Brett here with Manifest Better Life, and on this video of Absolutely Effortless Prosperity, we are going to do lesson 11, which is all about I give as I receive. This is going to be a very powerful lesson, so let's go to it. Day 11, lesson 11, I give as I receive. I know that giving and receiving are the same thing. It's just as joyous to give as it is to receive. It is just as joyous to receive as it is to give. When I give joyously, I am healed by doing my function of making a contribution to another. When I receive joyously, the giver is healed by doing his or her function of making a contribution to me. Today, I give as I receive. Assignment for day 11 is see at least one person as a child of God. Show this person unconditional love. You will feel honored to be in his or her presence. And affirmation today is I wish peace for everyone. So again, let's just breathe in deeply. Basically, try to go from the bottom of your perineum and try to breathe in and imagine breath. Basically, you want to breathe in all the way to your top of the skull. And then you let it go. And almost like a pendulum, breathe in slowly. It's good to close your eyes. Imagine that your breath is already on the top of your head, and as soon as it's there, pendulum goes back to breathe out. Everything through the nose, through the mouth. Try to do every little breath, squeeze it out. And then again, on the top of your head, and all right, you should do this at least 10 times. And then you repeat this affirmation at least 30 to 40 times, 50 times a day. I wish peace for everyone. I wish peace for everyone. And truly mean it. Really, I wish peace for everyone. Now you just continue doing this. I do this every morning when I read this lesson. I do this 30, 40 times. When I have lunch or after lunch, I do this again, the same amount of time. And then before I go to sleep, to get ready for the day, I do the same thing. Basically, breathe in, breathe out 10 times, really deep breathing. That is very important because that is what is giving you or your brain to alpha state, where when you do this affirmation, they work magic. Right? It's better than if you do affirmation in just normal awake state, which is beta state, and that doesn't work that effectively. So I recommend doing this, and it's up to you, right? So now let's go to recommended reading, and the first one is forgiving others to forgive myself. Let's go. Forgiving others to forgive myself. As a real estate agent, I have worked with many different types of people. One time, I placed an ad in the newspaper for the sale of some land. A man who responded to the ad recognized that I spoke with an accent and asked my nationality. When I told him that I was Persian, he began a discussion of the land for sale in my native language. He told me that he had recently moved to Las Vegas from Hawaii, where he owned several businesses. He also owned a nursing home in Las Vegas and had a substantial amount of cash that he wished to invest in this area. I arranged to take him to lunch. During lunch, he ordered a full meal and several beers. Afterward, we continued to look at properties until dinner time. Again, he told me that he was hungry, and I took him for another meal. As an agent who specializes in rather large land transactions, I'm accustomed to taking clients out to eat while putting together land deals, so I wasn't disturbed by this behavior. During our conversation, He told me that he was fluent in 12 languages and had a degree in law, dentistry, and oral surgery. He told me that because he spoke many languages and because of his educational background, he had been employed by the United Nations before his move to Hawaii. As a person who was born in another country, I often meet people who have acquired higher degrees in their native land, then come to the United States and begin another career. During the process, they learn many different languages. He was well spoken and very knowledgeable. I was honored to be with him and be of service to him. Over the next 5 or 6 days, our routine remained the same. I would pick him up for breakfast and we would look at land, go to lunch, search for more land, and finish with dinner. At no time did he offer to pay for anything. In fact, he mentioned that my commission on the sale of the land would far exceed the cost of the meals. Several times he asked me to stop at various places so that he could run personal errands as well. The perfect deal finally materialized. I wrote up the offer and he gave me a check for $10,000 as a deposit. As I was driving to the escrow company, he telephoned me on my cellular phone. He told me that he had canceled the check and did not wish to go ahead with the transaction. I froze. My telephone rang again, and this time it was my girlfriend. When I told her what had happened, she began to laugh at me. I was not pleased. She explained that the man was an accomplished con artist. As a student of a course in miracles, I looked for the lesson in all of this, but nothing occurred to me. I became angry and upset. That night, I could not sleep. This is very unusual for me. The fact that I had been misled, not for one day, but for an entire week, was very disturbing. After a restless night, I went to my meditation pyramid with a big attitude. One of my guides appeared laughing at me. I was not amused and demanded to know what was so funny. After more laughter, my guide said, "You do not see it, do you?" I explained that I had looked at everything and that there was nothing to see. There was no lesson for me. He suggested that we look at it together. He asked what bothered me most about the experience. As I struggled to control my temper, I told him that the man had lied to me about speaking 12 languages. My guide asked me to remember the first day that I had arrived in the United States. A woman had asked me how many languages I spoke. I had replied that I spoke 6 languages in an attempt to impress her. My guide asked me if that had been true. I told him that it hadn't. I only spoke Persian and marginal English at the time. He began to laugh again and said, "See, he doubled the number of languages that he speaks so that you could recognize your error and rid yourself of the guilt you have carried for many years. By forgiving him, you forgive yourself." Only partially relieved, I continued with an outraged reminder that he had claimed to have 3 graduate degrees. After more laughter, my guide asked me to remember my first return trip to Persia, when I had told my family and friends that I was an engineer. Again, my guide asked if that had been true. I responded that it hadn't because I was only in my first year of college at that time. Until that moment, I had completely forgotten about that one. My guide resumed his laughter and said, "He tripled his degrees so that you could see your error and rid yourself of the guilt." Feeling a little embarrassed, I went on to ask about the exaggeration of his cash holdings. By this time, my guide was not laughing and asked me to remember another incident. This continued until I was in total peace. No longer did I view the client as a con man, but as an angel who had come to rid me of my guilt. That afternoon, I called my angel and invited him to dinner that evening. I dined with him without animosity or anger, for I saw him in a completely different light, as a savior. When we parted after dinner, I felt complete with him and at peace with myself. Shortly after that evening, I telephoned him. He had totally disappeared without a trace. So this is a very interesting story, and all the lessons about effortless prosperity is to actually looking at yourself, but sometimes we don't recognize mistake in ourselves. So there must be somebody who comes and show it to us, and basically that person will be our mirror. And only by noticing it and then reacting to it, we see it in ourselves. And that way, when you basically, all you have to do is be aware, wow, and recognize that this is a lesson, and that person shows you what you cannot normally see inside yourself. And this way, you basically forgive that person, and you forgive automatically yourself, and that way you can heal your mind, your spirit from the burden that you would normally have because it bothered you, right? Like in Bijan, he was angry. He said that he was angry when this happened to him, that this guy was like con artist, right? But at the end, it actually made him realize that he was doing the same thing before, and now he's completely healed and his journey can continue, which is quite interesting. And I think that once you start healing yourself from all these negative things, like, anger will basically make it bigger, so you see it. And it is all about lesson. And once you start noticing it and healing that from yourself, so it will disappear, and you will have more room to grow even bigger than what you are right now. So this is a very interesting story, and it's a little bit longer, but really worth it. So now let's go to the second story for today, which is cause and effect. Your thoughts are the causes that produce effects, which becomes your reality. What you see outside of yourself is only the effect of your thinking. Instead of working to change the effect, it is important to work on your thoughts, on your mind. Only at this level can change be made to produce a different effect. Whenever you produce an effect that you no longer desire, it is very important that you accept it as an effect of your own thoughts. Only by accepting and releasing it can you be free to create different effects. That's what I was actually talking about previously. For example, suppose that you had created a chair, but now decide that you no longer desire the chair, but desire a table instead. You must first accept and release the chair, the effect of your thought, before you are free to go back to your mind and create a table. You can always change the reality outside of yourself by changing your mind about it, and thereby changing the cause. So again, guys, I hope that you get some aha moments from today 11 lessons of absolutely effortless prosperity. And if yes, please comment below. Let me know what was your biggest takeaway from this day, from this lesson. And if this gives you really good value, make sure you give me a like for this video. And if you are completely new to my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button with the bell notification icon so you don't miss out any cool lesson on absolutely effortless prosperity.